Lee Sung-ho opened his eyes slowly. His head hurt badly and everything looked blurry. The last thing he remembered was the bright flash when the alien ship attacked. Now he was lying on a cold metal floor in a small room with glowing purple walls. He sat up carefully and looked around. The room was tiny, maybe 3 steps wide and 4 steps long. One wall had a shimmering barrier of light instead of a door. Through it, he could see a long hallway with more rooms like his. This was definitely not his ship anymore. Sung-ho touched the back of his head and felt dried blood. The aliens had hit him hard when they captured him. He tried to remember what happened to his crew. Kim Hana had been fighting the boarding party near the bridge. Park Tae-min was in the engine room trying to send a distress signal. Choi Bo-ra was at her communication station. He hoped they were still alive. The sound of heavy footsteps made him look up. A tall alien walked down the hallway toward his cell. The creature looked like a giant lizard walking on 2 legs. Its skin was dark green with black spots, and it had yellow eyes that never blinked. Sharp teeth filled its mouth when it smiled. "The human is awake," the alien said in broken English. Its voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "I am Commander Kethvar of the Vorthon Empire. You are now my prisoner." Sung-ho stood up and walked to the energy barrier. He kept his face calm, even though his heart was beating fast. "Captain, Lee Sung-ho of the United Earthship Harmony. What happened to my crew?" Commander Kethvar laughed. It was an ugly sound. "Your crew is safe, for now. They are in other cells on this ship. But you, Captain, are special. Earth will pay much to get you back." "We were on a diplomatic mission," Sung-ho said. "We came in peace to meet with your leaders." "Peace?" The alien commander moved closer to the barrier. "Humans talk about peace while they build more ships and take more planets, but now we have you. Earth will stop expanding, or we will kill you slowly." Sung-ho studied the alien's face. Kethvar was proud and angry, but also nervous. This attack was not approved by the Vorthon government. The commander was acting on his own. That could be useful information later. "Your government will not be happy about this," Sung-ho said quietly. The alien's eyes flashed with anger. "My government is weak. They fear humans too much, but I will show them that humans are just soft meat that breaks easily." Kethvar turned and walked away. Sung-ho watched him go, then sat back down on the floor. He needed to think carefully. The commander had made several mistakes already. First, he admitted this was an illegal attack. Second, he revealed that Sung-ho's crew was alive and on this ship. Third, he showed that he thought humans were weak. Sung-ho smiled grimly. Commander Kethvar did not know that the captain used to be a Special Forces soldier before joining the diplomatic service. He had spent 5 years learning how to survive behind enemy lines, how to escape from prisons, and how to turn bad situations into advantages. He began to study his prison carefully. The energy barrier hummed softly and gave off a purple light. The walls were made of some kind of metal that felt warm to the touch. There were small vents near the ceiling that brought in fresh air. The floor had thin lines that might be maintenance access panels. Footsteps came down the hall again. This time it was a smaller alien carrying a bowl of something that looked like gray soup. The guard pressed a button, and a small opening appeared in the energy barrier. He pushed the bowl through, then closed the opening quickly. "Eat," the guard said. His English was worse than the commander's. "Keep strong for questions." Sung-ho took the bowl and sniffed it. It smelled terrible, but his body needed food to stay strong. He ate it slowly while watching the guard. The alien was young and seemed nervous. His weapon was some kind of energy rifle, but he held it carelessly. He was not a professional soldier. After the guard left, Sung-ho lay down and pretended to sleep. Actually, he was listening carefully to all the sounds around him. He heard other guards talking in the distance. He heard machines humming and clicking. He heard footsteps at regular times that told him about guard schedules. Most importantly, he heard a woman's voice from somewhere nearby. It was speaking Korean quietly. "Can anyone hear me? This is Kim Hana. Is anyone there?" Sung-ho's heart jumped with relief. His tactical officer was alive and close by. He waited until the next guard patrol passed, then whispered back in Korean, "Hana, this is the captain. I'm here." "Captain!" Her voice was full of joy. "Are you hurt?" "I'm okay. What about the others?" "I heard Tai-min's voice earlier from the other direction. I think Bo-ra might be near him. We're all in separate cells." "Good. Listen carefully. Don't try to escape yet. We need to learn more about this ship first. Watch the guards. Count their patrol times. Look for anything useful." "Understood, sir. What's the plan?" Sung-ho was quiet for a moment. The plan was already forming in his mind, but it was dangerous and complex. "We're going to take this ship." There was silence from Hana's direction. Then she whispered, "All of it?" "All of it. But first, we need information. Stay alert and stay alive. I'll find a way to contact the others." The next few hours passed slowly. Sung-ho used the time to think and plan. Every time a guard walked by, he watched their movements. Every sound taught him something new about the ship. The aliens thought they had captured a helpless human diplomat. They had no idea they were holding a trained Special Forces operative who was already planning their defeat. Commander Kethvar returned near the end of the day. "Tomorrow we begin questioning you, human. You will tell us about Earth's military secrets, or you will suffer greatly." Sung-ho looked at the alien commander with calm eyes. "I'll tell you whatever you want to know." Kethvar seemed surprised by this easy answer. "Good. I thought you would be difficult." "Why would I be difficult?" Sung-ho asked. "You're bigger and stronger than me. You have weapons and soldiers. I'm just one man in a small cell. What could I possibly do against a whole ship full of warriors?" The alien commander smiled with satisfaction. "Exactly. Humans are weak. Tomorrow you will learn just how weak." After Kethvar left, Sung-ho lay back down. The alien thought he had won, but the real battle was just beginning. Sung-ho had spent years learning that the best weapon was not strength or size. It was intelligence, patience, and the ability to make your enemy underestimate you. The aliens thought they had a hostage. They had no idea they had captured a human with a plan. The next morning, 2 alien guards came for Sung-ho. They were bigger than the young guard from yesterday, with scars on their arms and faces. Professional soldiers. They kept their weapons pointed at him while one opened the energy barrier. "Come," the first guard said. "Commander wants to talk." Sung-ho stood up slowly, acting more tired and weak than he really felt. The guards relaxed slightly when they saw him moving like an old man. They walked him down the long hallway past dozens of other prison cells. Most were empty, but he saw his crew members in 3 different cells. Kim Hana caught his eye for just a moment and nodded slightly. She was okay. The hallway led to a lift that carried them up several levels. Sung-ho counted each floor and tried to remember the ship's layout. The lift opened into a section that looked like the command area of the ship. Through large windows, he could see stars moving past. They were traveling at high speed. Commander Kethvar waited in a room filled with strange alien computers and screens. He was studying something that looked like star charts. When Sung-Ho entered, the commander turned and smiled his ugly smile. "Welcome to my interrogation room, Captain Lee. Please, sit down." Sung-Ho sat in the chair the guards pointed to. It was too big for a human, clearly made for the larger alien bodies. He had to work to look comfortable. "Now then," Kethvar said, walking around the chair like a predator. "Tell me about Earth's military strength. How many ships do you have?" Sung-Ho pretended to think hard. "About 200 ships, I think. But most of them are just cargo vessels and exploration ships." "How many warships?" "Maybe 50. I'm not a military officer anymore, Commander. I work for the diplomatic service now. I don't know current military secrets." Kethvar stopped walking and stared at him. "You were a soldier once?" "Yes, but that was years ago. I left the military to work for peace between species." The alien commander laughed. "Peace? There is no peace in the galaxy. Only the strong survive, and the weak become slaves." For the next 2 hours, Kethvar asked many questions. Sung-Ho answered them carefully, mixing some truth with some lies. He made Earth sound weaker than it really was, but not so weak that the alien would get suspicious. Every answer taught him something about what the Vorthons knew and what they feared. More importantly, he learned about the ship itself. Through the windows, he could see weapon batteries and engine sections. The computer screen showed information about the ship's systems. When guards came and went, he heard them talking about duty schedules and maintenance problems. "This ship has about 200 crew members," Kethvar said proudly during a break. "All of them trained warriors. My ship, the Deathclaw, is one of the finest vessels in the Vorthon fleet." "It's very impressive," Sung-Ho said honestly. "How long will it take to reach Vorthon space?" 3 days. We go to a special military station where our scientists will study you and your crew. They want to understand human biology before we attack your worlds." Sung-Ho felt cold inside, but kept his face calm. "Attack our worlds? But I thought this was just to get information." "Information first, then invasion. Humans have taken 2. Many planets that should belong to stronger species. Soon we will take them back." After the questioning, the guards took Sung-Ho back to his cell through a different route. This gave him a chance to see more of the ship. He memorized every hallway, every door, every guard station. The ship was big, but it followed a logical design that he was beginning to understand. Back in his cell, he waited until the guards were gone, then whispered to Kim Hana, "Can you hear me?" "Yes, Captain. How did it go?" "I learned a lot. We have 3 days before we reach their base. After that, they plan to kill us while studying our bodies." "That's cheerful," Hana said quietly. "Any good news?" "The ship has about 200 crew members. The commander is acting without orders from his government, and they think we're much weaker than we really are." "What about weapons and defenses?" "I saw some, but I need more information. Can you see anything from your cell?" "There's a maintenance panel on my wall. I think I can open it if I get the chance." "Good. Do that tonight when the guards change shifts. Look for anything that shows the ship's internal systems." Later that day, guards brought Sung-Ho food and took him to another questioning session. This time, Kethvar wanted to know about human technology. Sung-Ho continued his careful game of giving answers that seemed helpful, but were actually misleading. During this session, he met someone unexpected. A human woman in a dirty medical coat was working at one of the computers. She looked up when Sung-Ho entered and their eyes met for just a moment. "This is Dr. Yoon Dae-jung," Kethvar said. "She was captured 6 months ago from a human research station. She has been very helpful in teaching us about human weaknesses." Dr. Yoon looked ashamed and afraid. "Hello, Captain Lee," she said quietly. Sung-ho understood immediately. The doctor was cooperating with the aliens to stay alive. He didn't blame her. Survival was the first rule when you were captured, but now he had a potential ally inside the enemy's organization. "Dr. Yoon has been studying human medical files," Kethvar continued. "She will help our scientists understand how to hurt humans most efficiently." "I do what I must to survive," Dr. Yoon said, looking directly at Sung-ho. There was something in her eyes that told him she was not as broken as she pretended to be. The questioning continued for another hour. Sung-ho noticed that Dr. Yoon was listening carefully to everything he said. She was also watching Kethvar and the guards, taking mental notes just like he was. When the session ended, the guards took him back to his cell. On the way, they passed through a section where he could hear Park Taemin's voice talking to someone, in Korean. His engineer was alive and seemed to be in good condition. That night, Sung-ho lay in his cell and organized all the information he had gathered. The ship was powerful but not invincible. The crew was large but not alert enough. The commander was proud but not smart enough, and now he had a potential ally in Dr. Yoon. He whispered to Kim Hana again. "Did you get into the maintenance panel?" "Yes. I found diagrams of the ship's power systems. Tae-min would understand them better than me, but I can see some interesting things. Tell me." "The ship has 3 main power cores. If you damage 2 of them, the third can't handle all the ship's systems. Also, the gravity generators are separate from other systems. And Captain, there's something else." "What?" "The maintenance tunnels connect to all parts of the ship. A person could crawl through them if they were small enough." Sung-ho smiled in the darkness. His crew was already thinking like he was. They were gathering intelligence and looking for weaknesses. The aliens thought they had 4 helpless prisoners. They actually had a special forces team that was already planning their escape. But Sung-ho was thinking bigger than just escape. 3 days was enough time to do something that would really surprise Commander Kethvar. Something that would turn this whole situation around. The aliens thought they were taking him to their base to kill him. Instead, he was going to deliver their own ship right into Earth's hands. On the second day, Sung-ho decided it was time to take a bigger risk. During his morning questioning session, he asked to use the bathroom. The guard looked annoyed but agreed. They walked down a hallway to a small room with alien facilities that humans could barely use. While the guard waited outside, Sung-ho quickly examined the room. Like Kim Hana had said, there was a maintenance panel near the ceiling. It was just big enough for a person to crawl through. He memorized its location and how it opened. Back in the questioning room, Dr. Yoon was there again. Kethvar was asking about human military training methods. Sung-ho gave careful answers while watching the doctor work. She was taking notes, but he noticed she was writing some things in Korean instead of the alien language. "Dr. Yoon," Kethvar said, "explain to the captain what we learned from your research." Dr. Yoon looked uncomfortable. "We studied human medical files. We found that humans have sensitive hearing. Certain sound frequencies can cause pain and disorientation." She was telling the truth, but Sung-ho heard something else in her voice, a warning. She was letting him know what the aliens might use against them. "Very useful information," Kethvar said. "Soon we will test these frequencies on human prisoners." "When will that happen?" Sung-ho asked. Tomorrow, when we reach the base. First we test on your crew members, then, if you don't cooperate fully, we test on you. Sung-ho nodded as if he was afraid. Inside, he was calculating timing. They had less than 36 hours before reaching the base. His plan would have to happen tonight. After the session, the guards took him back through a different route again. This time, he deliberately stumbled and fell near Park Tae-min's cell. While the guards helped him up, he whispered quickly in Korean, "Tonight. Be ready." Taemin's eyes widened slightly, but he didn't say anything. The guards didn't notice the exchange. Back in his cell, Sung-ho waited for the right moment. He had been watching the guard schedules carefully. Every 6 hours, there was a shift change that lasted exactly 10 minutes. During that time, the hallways were almost empty while the new guards got their orders. "Hana," he whispered when the time came. "Are you ready?" "Yes, Captain. The maintenance panel is already loose." "Good. I'm going to create a distraction. When you hear it, get into the tunnels and find Taemin and Bora. Bring them back to the area between our cells." "What kind of distraction?" "I'm going to try to escape. Very badly." Sung-ho went to his energy barrier and started shouting. "Help! Someone help me! I'm sick! Something's wrong!" He threw himself against the barrier, making it spark and flash. The noise echoed down the hallway. Soon, guards came running from both directions. "What is wrong?" one guard demanded. Sung-ho was lying on the floor holding his stomach. "The food you gave me. It's poisonous to humans. I need medical help." The guards looked worried. They couldn't let their valuable prisoner die from bad food. One guard called for Dr. Yoon, while another opened the barrier to check on Sung-ho. This was the moment he was waiting for. Sung-ho grabbed the guard's weapon and rolled away from the barrier. But he moved slowly, like a sick man. The other guards easily shot the weapon out of his hands with stun blasts. "Stupid human," the first guard said. "You think you can fight? Trained soldiers?" They dragged him back into the cell and sealed the barrier. "No more food until tomorrow," one guard said angrily. Sung-ho lay on the floor, pretending to be hurt by the stun blasts. Actually, he felt fine. The escape attempt had been fake, designed to get the guards excited and angry. Now they would be talking about it instead of paying attention to other things. 20 minutes later, he heard soft sounds from the ceiling above his cell. Kim Hana's voice came through the ventilation system. "Captain, I'm in the tunnels with Taemin and Bora. We're all okay." "Excellent. What did you find?" Park Taemin's voice came through the vent. "Captain, this ship has some serious design flaws. I found the main engineering diagrams. The gravity system has manual override controls in 3 different locations. If we can reach them, we can turn off gravity in specific sections." "What about communications?" Sung-ho asked. Choi Bo-ra answered. "I found the main communication array. It's heavily protected, but there's a backup system that connects to the ship's internal announcements. If I can get to it, I might be able to control what messages go out." "And weapons?" "The main weapon controls are on the bridge," Hana said. "But there are emergency lockout systems in the armory. If we trigger them, the weapons shut down automatically." Sung-ho felt excited. His crew had found exactly the information they needed. "Can you get back to your cells without being seen?" "Yes," Hana said. "The tunnels are empty. The aliens must be too big to use them." "Good. Get back safely. Tomorrow, I'll talk to Dr. Yoon and see if she's willing to help us." The next morning, during his questioning session, Sung-ho found a way to speak privately with Dr. Yoon. Kethvar left the room to check on something, and the guards were watching the door instead of the prisoners. "Doctor," Sung-ho said quietly in Korean, "how long do you want to stay here?" Dr. Yoon looked surprised. What do you mean? I mean, are you really helping them, or are you just trying to survive? She looked around nervously, then whispered back, I hate them. They killed my research team and destroyed my station. But I'm just one person. What can I do? You can help me save all of us. My crew and I are planning to take control of this ship tonight. That's impossible. There are 200 of them, and only 5 of us. 6 of us if you help. And we don't need to fight all of them. We just need to be smarter than they are. Dr. Yoon stared at him. You're serious? Completely serious. Can you create something that would make the aliens sick or unconscious? Something that affects their biology but not humans? She thought for a moment. Maybe. I've been studying their medical files, too. They have sensitive respiratory systems. A certain gas mixture would make them dizzy and weak, but it wouldn't hurt humans much. Can you make this gas? I have access to the medical laboratory. I could create it, but I'd need a way to distribute it through the ship. We can handle that part. The question is, are you willing to take the risk? Kethvar's footsteps were coming back down the hallway. Dr. Yoon looked at Sung Ho for a long moment, then nodded slightly. I'm tired of being afraid, she whispered. When Kethvar returned, the questioning continued normally. But now Sung Ho had 6 people instead of 5. Dr. Yoon had access to areas his crew couldn't reach. She understood alien biology and had medical equipment they could use as weapons. That afternoon, Sung Ho shared the plan with his crew through the ventilation system. They would move tonight, during the late shift when fewer guards were awake. Dr. Yoon would create the gas and find a way to release it into the ship's air system. Tai Min would disable the gravity in key areas. Hana would secure the armory. Bo-Ra would take control of communications. What about you, Captain? Hana asked. I'm going to take the bridge and capture Commander Kethvar. Once we control the command center, we control the whole ship. Sir, Taemin said carefully, this plan is very dangerous. If even one thing goes wrong, they'll kill all of us. If we do nothing, they'll kill us tomorrow anyway, Sung Ho replied. This way we have a chance, and if we succeed, we don't just save ourselves. We save the human colonies they're planning to attack. That evening, Sung Ho lay in his cell and went over every detail of the plan. In a few hours, they would either be free or dead. The aliens thought they had helpless prisoners. Tonight, they would learn what happens when humans fight back. Commander Kethvar had made one critical mistake. He thought humans were weak because they talked about peace. He didn't understand that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one who wants peace but is willing to fight for it. At midnight, the ship was quiet except for the usual sounds of engines and life support systems. Most of the alien crew was sleeping, leaving only a skeleton crew on duty. This was exactly what Sung Ho had been waiting for. The first phase began in the medical laboratory. Dr. Yoon worked quickly and quietly, mixing chemicals that would create a gas dangerous to Vorthan respiratory systems, but relatively harmless to humans. Her hands shook slightly as she worked, but her knowledge was perfect. 6 months of forced cooperation had taught her everything about alien biology. She filled 3 small containers with the gas mixture and attached them to the ship's ventilation system. The gas would spread slowly through specific sections of the ship, affecting the aliens gradually so they wouldn't realize what was happening until it was too late. In the maintenance tunnels, Kim Hana moved like a shadow toward the armory. The tunnels were dusty and cramped, clearly not designed for regular use. She could hear alien voices through the walls as guards talked during their patrols. Her military training kept her moving silently, despite the uncomfortable conditions. Park. Taemin was crawling toward the engineering section through a different tunnel. His job was the most technical, but also the most important. The ship's gravity system was complex, but he had studied the diagrams carefully. If he could reach the manual controls, he could create zones of low gravity that would confuse and disorient the alien crew. Choi Bo-ra had the most dangerous assignment. She needed to reach the communication center, which was heavily guarded. But she had found a maintenance shaft that led directly into the room where the backup communication systems were located. If she could take control without being discovered, she could prevent the aliens from calling for help. Sung-ho waited in his cell for the signal to begin his part of the plan. His job was to create chaos that would draw attention away from his team while they worked. Then, when the ship was in confusion, he would make his way to the bridge and capture the command center. Dr. Yoon finished preparing the gas and sent a quiet signal through the ventilation system. A soft tapping sound told the others that phase one was complete. Now they had to wait for the gas to take effect. The first alien to be affected was a guard walking past the medical section. He stopped and shook his head, looking confused. Then he sat down heavily, breathing hard. Within minutes, he was unconscious. Similar scenes were happening throughout the ship as the gas spread. Aliens in the engineering section began to feel dizzy and weak. Guards in the armory area started stumbling and falling. The gas worked exactly as Dr. Yoon had predicted. This was Taemin's signal to act. He reached the gravity control systems and began making careful adjustments. Suddenly, the gravity in the main corridor dropped to 1/4 normal strength. Aliens who were still conscious found themselves floating and unable to walk properly in the armory. Hana heard the confused shouts of guards who couldn't understand why they were floating. She opened the maintenance panel and dropped into the room. 2 guards were there, but they were too dizzy from the gas and too confused by the gravity change to react quickly. Hana moved fast, using her knowledge of low-gravity combat. She disarmed both guards before they could raise their weapons. Then she activated the armory's emergency lockout system, which shut down all the ship's weapon systems automatically. Bo-ra reached the communication center just as the aliens there were beginning to realize something was wrong. She could hear them trying to contact other parts of the ship, but the gas was making them slow and confused. She slipped into the backup communication room and began reprogramming the systems. Now it was time for Sung-ho to make his move. He activated the small device that Dr. Yoon had given him, which created a brief electromagnetic pulse. The pulse disabled his cell's energy barrier for exactly 30 seconds. Sung-ho rolled out of his cell and into the corridor. The gravity here was still normal, but he could see floating aliens in the distance. Some were unconscious from the gas. Others were trying to figure out what was happening to their ship. He moved quickly toward the lift that would take him to the bridge. Along the way, he encountered 3 guards who were still alert enough to be dangerous. But they were confused and disoriented, and Sung-ho had the advantage of surprise. The first guard tried to shoot him, but the weapon didn't work because Hana had disabled the armory systems. Sung-ho tackled the alien and used his own weight to knock him unconscious. The second guard was already dizzy from the gas and fell down when Sung-ho pushed him. The third guard was floating helplessly in a low-gravity zone that Taemin had created. Sung-ho reached the lift and rode it up to the command level. The bridge was protected by heavy doors and multiple guards, but most of them were affected by the gas or confused by the gravity changes. He could hear Commander Kethavar shouting orders inside, trying to understand what was happening to his ship. Through the communication system, Bo-ra's voice reached every part of the ship. She was speaking in the Vorthon language, using words she had learned from listening to the aliens. All crew members report to emergency stations. This is not a drill. Repeat, all crew members to emergency stations. This message created even more confusion because it sent the remaining conscious aliens running in different directions. They thought their own officers were giving them orders, not realizing that a human had taken control of their communication system. Taemin continued adjusting the gravity systems, creating pockets of zero gravity in strategic locations. Aliens, who tried to reach the bridge, found themselves floating helplessly in corridors where they couldn't move properly. The ship's own systems were being turned against its crew. Dr. Yoon released more gas into the ventilation system, targeting areas where aliens were still conscious and dangerous. Her medical knowledge allowed her to calculate exactly how much gas would disable the aliens without killing them. The goal was to capture the ship, not destroy it. Sung-ho reached the bridge doors and found them sealed. But Taemin had anticipated this problem. The gravity controls could also affect the door mechanisms. Suddenly, the heavy doors became light enough for a human to force open. Inside the bridge, Commander HFY was trying to coordinate his crew's response to the emergency, but half his officers were unconscious from the gas, and the others were struggling with malfunctioning equipment and gravity distortions. "What is happening to my ship?" HFY roared when he saw Sung-ho enter. "Your ship is being taken by humans," Sung-ho replied calmly. "The same weak humans you thought would be easy prisoners." HFY drew his personal weapon and aimed it at Sung-ho, but when he pulled the trigger, nothing happened. The armory lockout had disabled all weapons on the ship, including the commander's sidearm. "Impossible," HFY said. "You are just one human in a cell. How could you do this?" "I wasn't just one human," Sung-ho said. "I had a team, and we had a plan." Around the bridge, the remaining conscious aliens were succumbing to the gas or being affected by gravity distortions. Some tried to reach emergency controls, but found themselves floating helplessly when Taemin adjusted the local gravity. Bora's voice came through the bridge speakers again, this time in English. "Captain, we control communications. No distress. Signals have been sent." Hana's voice followed. "Armory secured. All weapons are offline." Taemin reported next. "Engineering systems under our control. I can adjust gravity, power, and life support as needed." Dr. Yoon's voice was the last. "Medical bay secured. Gas distribution is complete. Approximately 70% of the crew is unconscious, and the rest are too disoriented to fight effectively." "Commander." HFY stared at Sung-ho with disbelief. "This is impossible. We are trained warriors. You are just diplomats and scientists." "You made a mistake," Sung-ho said. "You thought humans were weak because we try to solve problems with words instead of violence. But when words don't work, we can fight better than you imagine." HFY tried to lunge at Sung-ho, but the alien was already affected by the gas and moved too slowly. Sung-ho easily avoided him and used a pressure point technique to knock the commander unconscious. With the bridge under his control, Sung-ho activated the ship's internal communication system. "This is Captain Lee Sung-ho. The ship is now under human control. All Vorthon crew members will be treated according to the rules of war, but any resistance will be met with force." The plan had worked perfectly. In less than 2 hours, 6 humans had captured a ship with 200 alien warriors. They had used intelligence instead of strength, preparation instead of luck, and teamwork instead of individual heroics. But this was only the beginning. Now, They had to figure out what to do with their prize. With the bridge under control, Sung-Ho's team moved quickly to secure the rest of the ship. The gas had done its job well, leaving most of the alien crew unconscious or too weak to resist. But there were still pockets of organized resistance. That needed to be dealt with. Kim Hana moved through the ship methodically, checking each section. Her military training showed as she cleared rooms efficiently and safely. Most aliens she found were already unconscious from Dr. Yoon's gas. The few who were still awake were too disoriented to fight effectively. In the engine room, she found a group of 5 Vorthan engineers who had managed to seal themselves into an emergency shelter with its own air supply. They were trying to regain control of the ship's systems from their protected position. "This is the human military officer," Hana announced through the shelter's communication system. "Your ship is under our control. You have 2 choices. Surrender now and be treated well, or we will flood your shelter with the same gas that disabled your crewmates." The alien engineers argued among themselves in their own language. Finally, their leader responded. "We will not surrender to weak humans. We will fight until death." Hana sighed. She had hoped they would be reasonable. She activated the controls that Tai Min had shown her and began pumping Dr. Yoon's gas mixture into the emergency shelter. Within 10 minutes, the arguing voices inside grew quiet. Meanwhile, Park Tae-min was working in the main engineering section to ensure their control of the ship's systems. He had found the central computer core and was learning how to operate Vorthan technology. It was complex but logical, and his engineering background helped him understand the basic principles. "Captain," he reported through the communication system, "I have full control of propulsion, life support, and gravity systems. I'm also downloading all their technical databases. This information will be very valuable to Earth's engineers." Choi Bo-ra was having similar success in the communication center. She had not only prevented any distress calls from being sent, but had also accessed the ship's information systems. What she found there was disturbing. "Captain, you need to hear this," she said urgently. "I found their operational files. This attack on our diplomatic mission was just the beginning. They have detailed plans for attacking 3 human colony worlds, New Seoul, Terra Nova, and Harmony Station." Sung-Ho felt cold anger as he reviewed the plans on the bridge displays. The attacks were scheduled to begin in just 2 weeks. Thousands of human colonists would be killed if these plans were carried out. "How many ships are involved in this plan?" he asked. "According to these files, 12 Vorthan warships like this one. They're gathering at a secret base in the Kepler system." Dr. Yoon had been working to secure the medical bay and treat any aliens who had been hurt during the takeover. Her medical training wouldn't let her ignore injured beings, even if they were enemies. She had also been studying the Vorthan biological data she had access to. "Captain," she reported, "I've found something important in their medical files. The Vorthans have a weakness we can exploit. Their immune systems are very sensitive to certain Earth bacteria that are harmless to humans. If we could introduce these bacteria to their home worlds—" "No," Sung-Ho said firmly. "We're not going to use biological weapons against civilian populations. We're better than that." "Of course, sir. I just thought you should know about the weakness in case we need to defend ourselves." As the hours passed, Sung-Ho's team gained complete control of the ship. They had captured 198 Vorthan crew members, with only minor injuries on both sides. 2 aliens had been hurt when they fell during the gravity distortions, and 1 human had a bruised shoulder from tackling a guard, but there were no serious casualties. The aliens were secured in their own detention areas, guarded by automated systems that Taemin had reprogrammed. The irony was not lost on Sung-ho that the aliens were now prisoners in the same type of cells where they had held the humans. "What do we do now?" Kim Hana asked during a planning meeting on the bridge. "We have their ship, but we're still deep in enemy territory." Sung-ho had been thinking about this problem. "We continue with their original flight plan. According to their navigation system, we're supposed to arrive at the Vorthon military base in 18 hours. We'll arrive exactly on schedule." "Sir?" Taemin looked confused. "Why would we want to go to an enemy base?" "Because they're expecting the Deathclaw to arrive with human prisoners. Instead, they're going to get a ship full of human captors with Vorthon prisoners. We'll have the element of surprise." Bo-Ra understood first. "You want to capture their base, too." "Not capture it. Just get close enough to study it and gather intelligence. Then we'll head for Earth with everything we've learned." Dr. Yoon had been quiet during the discussion, but now she spoke up. "Captain, there's something else you should consider. I've been studying their communication logs. This Commander Kethvar was not acting with official approval. The Vorthon government doesn't know about his attack on your diplomatic mission." This was interesting news. Sung-ho thought about the implications. "So if we handle this correctly, we might be able to prevent a war between Earth and the Vorthon Empire." "Possibly. But we need proof that Kethvar was acting on his own, and we need to make sure the real Vorthon authorities learn about his unauthorized actions." The next several hours were spent preparing for their arrival at the enemy base. Bo-Ra studied the communication protocols so she could respond properly to any messages from the base. Taemin learned more about the ship's systems in case they needed to make a quick escape. Hana prepared defensive positions in case the deception failed. Sung-ho spent time interviewing some of the captured aliens, particularly the officers who might have useful information. Most of them refused to cooperate, but a few were willing to talk when they realized their situation was hopeless. From these interviews, he learned that Kethvar had convinced his crew that they were carrying out secret orders from the Vorthon High Command. Many of the aliens thought they were performing a patriotic duty by attacking humans. They had no idea their commander was acting without authorization. "Commander Kethvar told us that humans were planning to attack Vorthon colonies," one alien officer explained. "He said we had to strike first to protect our people." This gave Sung-ho an idea. If he could prove that Kethvar had lied to his own crew, it might help prevent the war that the commander was trying to start. As they approached the Vorthon base, Bo-Ra received the expected communication. "Deathclaw, this is base command. Report your status." Bo-Ra responded using the proper codes and protocols that she had found in the ship's communication system. "Base command, this is Deathclaw. Mission successful. We have captured human diplomatic team and are bringing them for interrogation." "As ordered." "Understood, Deathclaw. Proceed to docking Bay 7. Medical teams are standing by to begin examination of the prisoners." Sung-ho smiled grimly. The base personnel had no idea what was really coming their way. In a few hours, they would learn that the prisoners were not what they expected. But first, he had to make sure his team was ready for whatever they might find at the base. This was the most dangerous part of their plan, because once they were at the enemy facility, they would have nowhere to run if things went wrong. "Everyone remember," he told his team, "we're not here to start a fight. We're here to gather intelligence and prevent a war. But if they discover who we really are, we'll have to fight our way out." The Vorthon base appeared on their screens, growing larger as they approached. It was bigger than Sung Ho had expected, with dozens of ships docked around a massive space station. This was clearly a major military facility, not just a small outpost. "Captain," Tae-min said quietly, "if this base launches all those ships against us, we won't stand a chance. Then we'll have to make sure they don't discover us until it's too late," Sung Ho replied. The final phase of their plan was about to begin. The Deathclaw docked at the Vorthon base exactly on schedule. Through the bridge windows, Sung Ho could see the massive military station with its weapons platforms and ship construction facilities. This was one of the most important bases in Vorthon space, and they were sitting right in the middle of it. "Docking complete," Tae-min reported. "Base personnel are requesting permission to come aboard." Sung Ho nodded to Bo-Ra, who activated the communication system. "Base command, this is Deathclaw. We have experienced some technical problems during our mission. Request that only essential personnel board at this time." "Understood, Deathclaw. Sending medical team and security escort only." A few minutes later, 6 Vorthons came aboard through the docking tube. They expected to find Commander Kethvar, waiting to greet them with his human prisoners. Instead, they found Kim Hana and Park Tae-min pointing captured weapons at them. "Welcome aboard," Sung Ho said in the Vorthon language that Bo-Ra had taught him. "Please don't make any sudden movements." The base medical officer, an older Vorthon with gray scales, stared at him in shock. "You're human. Where is Commander Kethvar?" "Commander Kethvar is currently in detention, along with the rest of his crew. This ship is now under Earth authority." The security guards reached for their weapons, but found that they didn't work. Tae-min had used the ship's systems to disable all energy weapons in the docking area. "This is impossible," the base commander said through the communication system. "How could humans capture a Vorthon warship?" "Very carefully and with excellent planning," Sung Ho replied. "Now I suggest you listen to what I have to say, because it concerns the security of both our species." Over the next hour, Sung Ho explained everything he had learned. He showed them the files proving that Kethvar had attacked the diplomatic mission without authorization. He revealed the plans for attacks on human colonies that would have started a war between Earth and the Vorthon Empire. Most importantly, he proved that Kethvar had lied to his own crew about his orders. The base medical officer, who introduced himself as Dr. Veltar, was particularly interested in the evidence. If this is true, then Kethvar has committed crimes against both species. He could have caused a war that would kill millions. "That was exactly his intention," Sung Ho said. "Your commander believed that war was inevitable, so he decided to start it on his own terms." Dr. Yoon had been working with Dr. Veltar to review the medical evidence. "The biological data proves that Kethvar was planning to use banned weapons against human civilians," she reported. "These plans violate Vorthon military law as well as interstellar treaties." The base commander, General Morthak, had been studying the captured files with growing anger. "Kethvar told us he was conducting a routine patrol mission. He never mentioned capturing humans or planning attacks on colonies." "Because he knew you wouldn't approve," Sung Ho said. "Your government is not as warlike as Kethvar wanted them to be." Bo-Ra had been monitoring communications between the base and other Vorthon facilities. "Captain, I'm receiving messages from the Vorthon High Command. They're asking about rumors of an attack on human diplomats." This was the moment Sung Ho had been waiting for. "General Morthak, I suggest you contact your High Command immediately. Tell them exactly what happened here. Your government needs to know that one of their commanders almost started an unauthorized war. General Morthak agreed. Within an hour, the highest levels of the Vorthan government were involved in emergency communications with the base. Sung Ho found himself speaking directly with the Vorthan Chancellor, their equivalent of a president or prime minister. Captain Lee, the Chancellor said through the communication system, if what you say is true, then the Vorthan Empire owes Earth a formal apology. Commander Kethvar's actions were completely unauthorized and contrary to our official policies. I appreciate that, Chancellor. But there's something more important than apologies. Kethvar was not working alone. He had supporters throughout, your military, who believed that war with humanity was inevitable. You need to find them and stop them before they try something like this again. The Chancellor was quiet for a moment. You are suggesting that there are traitors in our own military. I'm suggesting that there are people who think like Kethvar. They believe that conflict is better than cooperation. If you don't deal with them, someone else will try to start the war that Kethvar failed to begin. Over the next several hours, a remarkable thing happened. Instead of being treated as enemies, the humans found themselves working as partners with the Vorthan authorities to investigate the conspiracy. Dr. Yoon shared her medical research to help identify other ships that might have been equipped with illegal weapons. Bora provided communication logs that revealed which officers had been secretly supporting Kethvar's plans. Taimin was particularly helpful in analyzing the technical data. The modifications to this ship were not done in secret, he explained to the Vorthan engineers. Someone in your shipyards knew about them and approved them. You need to find out who. Kim Hana worked with Vorthan security to review the tactical plans for the colony attacks. These plans required detailed intelligence about human defenses, she pointed out. Kethvar had inside information that he shouldn't have been able to get through normal channels. The investigation revealed a conspiracy that went much deeper than anyone had realized. Kethvar was part of a military faction that wanted to expand Vorthan territory by conquering weaker species. They had been planning attacks not just on human colonies, but on several other peaceful civilizations as well. This is worse than we thought, General Morthak admitted. If you had not captured Kethvar's ship, this conspiracy might have succeeded in starting multiple wars. 3 days later, the situation was resolved in a way that no one could have predicted when Sung Ho first woke up in his prison cell. The CIA Vorthan High Command arrested 47 officers who were part of the conspiracy. They also agreed to share intelligence with Earth about other potential threats in the galaxy. The human diplomatic mission that had been attacked was not only rescued, but had achieved far more than its original goals. Instead of just negotiating a simple trade agreement, they had helped prevent a war and established a real partnership between Earth and the Vorthan Empire. Commander Kethvar and his crew were tried by a Vorthan military court for their crimes. Most of the crew members received light sentences because they had been deceived by their commander. Kethvar himself was sentenced to life imprisonment for treason and war crimes. As the Deathclaw prepared to return to Earth, now with a Vorthan escort as a gesture of respect, Sung Ho reflected on how everything had changed. The aliens had thought they were capturing a helpless human diplomat. They had no idea they were dealing with someone who would turn their own ship against them. Captain, Kim Hana said as they watched Earth grow larger on their screens, do you think the Vorthans have really learned their lesson? Some of them have, Sung Ho replied, but there will always be others who think that war is easier than peace. Our job is to be ready for them. Dr. Yoon had decided to stay on Earth to work with human scientists on developing defenses against alien biological weapons. I never want to be helpless again, she explained. Next time someone tries to use our biology against us, will be ready. Park Tae-min was excited about the opportunity to study Vorthon technology. Captain, the engineering data we captured will advance human space technology by decades. We'll be able to build better ships and more effective defenses. Choi, Bora had become fascinated by alien languages and communication systems. I want to work on developing better translation systems, she said. If we can communicate more clearly with other species, maybe we can prevent misunderstandings that lead to conflicts. When they arrived at Earth, they were greeted as heroes. But Sung-ho knew that the real victory was not in capturing an alien ship or foiling a conspiracy. The real victory was in proving that humans could be trusted to use their strength wisely, to choose cooperation over conquest, and to turn enemies into allies. In his final report, Sung-ho wrote, "The enemy's greatest weakness was their assumption that humans are weak because we prefer peace to war. They learned that sometimes the most dangerous opponent is the one who wants peace but is prepared to fight for it. When they thought they had taken a hostage, they had actually captured someone. With a plan, that plan not only saved our lives, but prevented a war that could have destroyed both our civilizations. The aliens had thought they knew what humans were capable of. They had been wrong. And in being wrong, they had learned something valuable. Never underestimate a species that can turn captivity into victory and enemies into friends."